קודשך הגדול והנורא פתחנו נגינה ונשמחה בישועתך.
Shema Kolenu Adonai Eloheinu Hus verachem aleinu Vekabel berachamim Uvratzon et tfilateinu. Won't you hear our voice above all the noise and have mercy on our souls? are in your care. Won't you hear our prayer and forgive us? Forgive us. Shema Koleinu Adonai Eloheinu Hu Zverachem Aleinu Vekabel berachamim uvratzon et tfilateinu. When we've lost our way, give us one more day to return to what is true. Won't you take us in so we can begin a new year? Won't you please hear? Shema Koleinu Adonai Eloheinu Hu Zverachem Aleinu Vekabel berachamim uvratzon et tfilateinu uvratzon et tfilateinu uvratzon et tfilateinu. Am I there for those who need me, giving of my heart completely? Have I been caring and have I been patient? Have I forgiven without reservation? Do I take my days for granted, treated others even-handed, and shown compassion to the homeless stranger? Have I been humble before my Creator? Ve'al kulam, ve'al kulam, Elo aslichot ve'al kulam, ve'al kulam, ve'al kulam, Elo aslichot ve'al kulam. Have I tread lightly on the planet? Have I held fast to your commandment? And have I raised my voice against injustice? Have I been giving or have I been selfish? Ve'al kulam, ve'al kulam, Elo aslichot ve'al kulam, ve'al kulam, ve'al kulam, Elo aslichot ve'al kulam. Selach lanu, mechalanu, kapelanu ve'al kulam. Selach lanu, mechalanu, Uvechein, and then, when wholeness and peace are restored. Uvechein, and then, remembering what all life is for. In awe and afraid, taking stock of our days, healed by forgiveness and love, we pray a time will come as we return to the one, that we can become truly one. Uvechein, and then, when wholeness and peace are restored. Uvechein, and then, remembering what all life is for. When reverence for life is the prayer that unites all people as one family, remembering our light, a spark of the divine in ourselves and in all living beings. Then, just the sound of it gives wings to hope, lays fear to rest, to feel the open wings of possibility, and then imagine.
Good evening. Shana Tova, Gamar Chatima Tova, Tzum Kal, all of the phrases we say to each other. Hopefully your fast is going easily. I have the feeling this crowd is showing up late just because you wanted to eat a little later, but I don't know. Yeah, I guess Suzanne, that's true. I'd like to start the evening with a little story about the great Reb Zusha. Reb Zusha was found really very agitated and upset as he lay on his deathbed. And his students said to him, Rebbe, why are you so sad after all of the incredible things you've accomplished and the kindness you brought into the world? Your place in heaven is certainly assured. And Rabbi Zusha replied, I'm afraid. Because when I get to heaven, God won't ask me, why weren't you more like Moses? God won't ask me, why weren't you more like King David? God will ask me, Zusha, why weren't you more like Zusha? And then what will I say? That's the question that each of us are asking in the next 24 hours. This day is supposed to mimic our last day on earth. And we're about to be asked, why weren't you more like you? And each of us will have our own answer, or many answers. And every answer that we have will be completely unique because each one of us has our own life's energy. Each one of us has our own purpose, and that purpose is different for each one of us. What's the same about us is that we're all human beings. We're flawed. I assume that's why we're here, to answer these questions, to ask ourselves who were we in this last year? How are we going to make changes to make ourselves better people? Or maybe it's actually not about making ourselves better people, but to realign ourselves, perhaps? To put aside all that takes us away from just being us and find our true selves in the midst of all this noise that just keeps us away from ourselves. And to be honest, whether you're here because you'd feel guilty if you weren't, or you're here because someone else compelled you to be here, or you're here and you're still wondering what you're doing here at all, I say whatever is the reason that you come into this room, of everywhere we could all be at this very moment, we find ourselves in the exact same place as each other. Let's take advantage of that. And let's do what we need to do to find ourselves. This day is truly a gift. It's a gift because it gives us all the opportunity to deepen our lives and to discover something about ourselves. What a gift that is. Just wanted to give you a couple of notes. You know, the words to all the prayers are going to be up on the screens in front of you, and in the upper right-hand corner is going to be page numbers. So if I fail to give you the page number, or Rabbi Albin fails to give you the page number, please take a look in the upper right-hand corner on the bottom of the screen, and you can find that number there. We're going to bring the light of the holiday into this room. I'd like to invite Michelle Aaron to come up to light the candles. We're on page 9. Let's do that little responsive reading there.
The human spirit is the lamp of God, searching out what lies within us.
All of us, guided by the flame of conscience, on this sacred night, we search for truth.
Shine your light upon us as we strive to serve you. May we find safety in your faithful love.
We light the flame of healing and forgiveness. On this atonement night, we give thanks for love. That source of blessing, eternal our God, you fill the universe with majestic might, teaching us holiness through sacred obligations, giving us the mitzvah of bringing light on Yom Kippur. The realignment I was talking about earlier really begins now as we hear the Kol Nidre prayer and that familiar melody. Our realignment comes through the act of teshuvah, which we will do throughout the time we have together. And we do it personally, and we do it communally, we do it for ourselves, and we support each other. It begins by really giving ourselves a break. It begins by being kind to ourselves. Kol Nidre is a prayer that says that we let go of our vows before we even take them. This is an act of grace. This is an act of kindness. It's the first moment of a practice of teshuvah, of returning really to our core. This is our spiritual practice. Practice, because you may have noticed that every year we kind of repeat the same vow that we might have said last year or the year before that or in 2006 or 1994. Sometimes it literally takes a lifetime to truly return to ourselves. But we continue this practice of teshuvah. There have been mistakes and there have been missteps, and we haven't been perfect. And tonight is here to say, you're okay. It's a practice. It's the pursuit that's most important. It's the intention that's most important. This prayer is here to say you're already forgiven if you aren't able to keep the vows that you make on this day. So, you have permission to forgive yourself. Through kindness to yourself, we may find the light that's inside of each of us that leads us towards goodness and love. I'd like to invite Sue and Barry Brucker to come up to light the candles with us. To open the ark for us. Oh.
And Richard and Owen.
Richard and Owen. This is really late for him, I would imagine. He's going to be asleep by the time we get to Avinu Malkeinu, for sure. I would also like to invite Karen and Eliza Gibson, Melissa David and Sydney Azar are going to be our Torah holders. They hold the Torahs who are the witnesses for us. They're our Beit Din. They're our judges, not the people holding them, but the Torahs themselves serve as our judges this evening. We are on page 16. Please rise.
Nidre, vesarei, vaharamei, vekonamei, vechinuyei, vechinusei, ushavut. Din darna ureishtevana ureacharimna veda sana nashatana miyom kippurim zeh ad yom kippurim haba aleinu letova kulchon yicharadna lehon kulchon sharan shvikin shevitim betelin umevutalin lasheririn velakayamim Nidrana lani
Thank you so much for bringing that incredible melody into this space. Thank you to our holders of our Torah, especially you, David. That's a very heavy Torah. Give us the strength to keep our promises, sacred vows of partners in marriage, the promises of love and care between parents and children, the promise of duty between citizens and country, the oaths of doctors, the sacred trust of teachers. Give us the strength to keep our promises to our friends and colleagues, to those who live with us and depend on us, to those who work for us and those for whom we work, to those who pray with us and those for whom we pray, to those we love and those we serve. Give us the courage to keep our promises to ourselves, to one another, and to future generations. We continue with V'nislach, a hopeful note that we will succeed in our spiritual work over the next day. We're on page 20.
V'nislach, 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 lechol adat b'nei Yisrael. V'nislach, 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 lechol adat b'nei Yisrael.
We continue with Shehechianu on page 7. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. You bring us here. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. You keep us here. Shehechianu v'kiyamanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. Shehechianu v'kiyamanu v'higianu lazman hazeh.
Please stay standing as we move to page 22 for the Baruch Hu.
Barechu et Adonai Hamivorach.
Usually, when we recite Shema, we say the first line aloud, and then the second line, Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed, we say it really quietly, even, just to ourselves. The first line of Shema comes from Deuteronomy. It comes from Deuteronomy 6:4 to be exact. But the second line of the Shema is nowhere to be found in our Torah. The Talmudic rabbis, of course, they are always wondering. They spend time wondering where this second line of the Shema comes from. One answer that they come up with, they say it comes from the moment in Genesis when Jacob is on his deathbed surrounded by all of his sons. To bring their father comfort, to promise him that they will not stray from God after his death, they recite the first line of Shema to him, and this brings him so much comfort and relief that he responds back loudly and proudly the second line, Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Now, like I said, usually we recite this second line really quietly when we say Shema, but Yom Kippur is the only day when we say it really loudly, as loud as that first line. We say these words aloud with fervor tonight, like Jacob did in this story. On this holiest day of the year, the Shema is one way of declaring our faith and our passion for being a part of the Jewish people. So let us sing Shema together now, singing both lines loudly and proudly. This tradition, this Jewish tradition, is mine. We recite Shema, and it is on page
20.
28.
28. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto
Mi Chamocha is the Jewish freedom song. Tonight, as we get ready to sing Mi Chamocha together, I'm going to lift up the notion of choice. We each have the freedom to choose our values and to live accordingly. Yom Kippur brings an opportunity to ask ourselves, what choices do I want to make as I cross over to these next 25 hours of Yom Kippur, much like the Israelites crossed over the Red Sea? What choices do I want to make as I enter this yet undiscovered year? Mi Chamocha is on page 40.
Mi chamocha ba'im Adonai, mi kamocha netar b'kodesh, norati hilot oseh eleh. Malachutecha ra'u vanecha, bokei yam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam, zeili anu ve'ameru, Adonai imloch le'olam va'ed. V'ne'emar ki fadarna et Yaakov, ugelo miyad hazak mimenu.
traditionally sing Hashki Venu each night. It's really like a Jewish lullaby of sorts. Hashki Venu allows us to face the fact that while we sleep, we are really vulnerable to the world around us. While we're sleeping, while our eyes are closed, we have no control over what happens and no control over how we might respond. On this Kol Nidre, we feel a similar vulnerability as we admit our powerless over much of our lives. Therefore, we ask God to provide for us a shelter of protection under which we can admit that we sometimes missed the mark in this past year, and we need the courage to forgive ourselves and forgive others. We're going to sing actually just a short interpretation of Hashki Venu, Ufros Aleinu, asking God to spread Ufros Aleinu over us, this shelter of peace and comfort and acceptance of the human vulnerability that we all share. Beautiful melody was composed by our very own Rabbi Jonathan Aaron. The Amidah is the time in this service when we all at once personally approach the divine. There are two things happening at once. Yes, we are all together doing it, and yet we all have our personal words to share with God. It's a tall order coming up with the words we want to speak to God, so we take a moment now to prepare our bodies and to prepare our souls. What is it that you want to say to God on this Kol Nidre? Perhaps you'd like some insight into who you really are. Perhaps you're asking for some compassion so you can have more forgiveness toward yourself or to the people around you. Or perhaps you'd like some courage so you can face your shortcomings head on. Whatever you are seeking, you can take a moment now to really embrace it. Remember, we're all approaching the divine together, even though your personal words are all your own. What do you need to say to that Holy One on high? I'd like to welcome our ark openers now, Lily and John Bossy, to our bima. And I'll ask everyone to rise either in body or in spirit.
The Honorable Lily Bossy.
Please take a few minutes now to pray silently using the prayers in your hearts, and you may be seated when you are finished.
It is my pleasure to invite one of our co-presidents, Farhad Novian, to come forward to say a few words to us. He's been rehearsing this the entire evening, so we're really looking forward to hearing what you have to say.
Thanks, Rabbi.
7.
Let's do it. Gamar Chatima Tova. I like this crowd. The late crowd. Hey, my name is Farhad Novian. I'm a Temple co-president. Temple Emmanuel's been my spiritual home for the past 2 decades, I'd have to say. Together with Kara Corwin, it's my privilege tonight to serve as president for Temple Emmanuel. I know Kara was here earlier at the earlier service, and she was here on Rosh Hashanah, and it's a pleasure to serve with her in this role. I look forward to serving all of you in this role. Thank you. Kindness. Chesed. Kindness. My father, Nemat Novian, was a nice and kind man. He always spoke softly, smiled, and gave through his heart with a smile. He treated everyone with kindness and respect. Always. My grandfather, Bemuni, as a baker in the Persian Jewish ghetto in Tehran, used to loan out loaves of bread to fellow Jews in the Jewish community based on IOUs that would later disappear, essentially giving bread away for free. He was also kind. This year's kindness theme has resonated in my mind since Rosh Hashanah. I have to say it feels pretty good. I've been saying to myself, be kind. Use kind words. Be kind. It's really working. I like it. It feels good, doesn't it? Have you guys tried it? It feels good. As Jews, we share such an amazing and innate bond. As a child in Iran, we used to pray in tents, praying strong as a Jewish community. That Jewish bond has allowed each and every one of us to become strong communities and cultures, Jewish cultures throughout the world. Beyond mere tents, I've made a habit of visiting synagogues in cities like Cape Town, where you needed an appointment to get a passport to get into the synagogue, to Istanbul, a country that today is 99% Islamic, where it's difficult to get a minyan, to the great synagogue in Budapest, which seats 3,000 people, and many other cities with monolithic structures. Temple Emmanuel, this structure is remarkable and was recently refurbished icon of modernism designed by prolific modern architect Sidney Eisenstadt. Completed in 1953, its low yet massive building clad mostly in brick, with a main facade that features brick arches tapering to fine points before they connect with the ground, making the building seem much lighter. This building lays out more horizontally than it does vertically because God lives among all of us within. For me, this design evokes a tent in the desert, like those used by ancient Hebrews or even the Jews in Iran. The real blessing, though, is that this structure has beautifully been brought to life by our clergy, Rabbi Aaron, Rabbi Alban, by our administration, choir, staff, volunteers that breathe life into our synagogue, which can only shine as brightly as the people within it. Each of you, thank you for being here. Each of you, thank you. Without its members and the support we each give the synagogue, this synagogue would be like the synagogue in Turkey or any other synagogue afflicted by, let's say, the COVID pandemic, where attendance was low, and it was hard to get any support for any synagogue at all. Our interaction with Temple Emmanuel and its clergy could not be and should not be transactional. Religion and life cycle events should not be mere items you shop for. As members of the same team, we should embrace our synagogue and its clergy and breathe life into this synagogue through our actions and those of our children and grandchildren. So, I ask each of you, our fellow congregants, the following. I'd like for you to please make a meaningful tax-deductible contribution to Temple Emmanuel. We need it. We want it. Jewish guilt. Every donation, no matter the amount, has value and is meaningful. The clergy, our executive director, Sarah Heiner, and staff work so hard to present this beautiful service here tonight throughout the year. Give money where it's needed to support our clergy, the staff, our schools. The ECC, we have such an amazing early childhood center. We all need support to keep this place the vibrant place that it is today. I have to say, like many other houses of worship, our synagogue is currently running at a deficit. That's no surprise. It's running at a deficit. And we need the support of our entire community. I also want to thank each and every one of our 110 pillar households who have answered the call once again by contributing above and beyond our suggested annual due rates. Thank you, pillars. Your generosity nourishes Temple Emmanuel and gives us a foundational support we need to provide services and programming to our synagogue. Thank you. But beyond that, thank you to everyone who has renewed your membership or have decided to become a member first time this year, or who are attending this service just because you were curious. Thank you for being here. It's really important that you are here. In a world full of disconnect and disaffiliation, your commitment to our community means everything to us. It's important to note that the revenue from our membership drive covers about 30% of our operating costs. We're falling short. This is why we rely on your generous donations throughout the year from all of you in order to meet our annual budget targets. One of those items is our, of course, High Holy Day Appeal tonight. All of us here at the synagogue, the lay leadership, clergy, staff, are busy making plans not just for this year, but for the next 70 years, the next generation and the generation after that, to continue to keep this synagogue vibrant, relevant into the next century. To realize this goal, I ask that you give to Temple Emmanuel's High Holiday Appeal. We need it. We need that to support our tradition. We need your support to support our tradition, to keep this religion going and to keep this house of worship going. Think hard and get someone as well to enroll in our ECC. The ECC is also a strong foundation for the synagogue and helps with our funding. Amazon changed the way we shop. It really did. DoorDash changed the way we eat. Let's not change the way we pray and also support our Temple Emmanuel with your donation and school enrollment. I need you to give generously, please, to Temple Emmanuel. Put some money down on this wonderful community. Keep Judaism relevant. Reach out and connect to me and Kara. We're here for you. Keep it kind, and most important, be be kind to yourself. Thank you. And we have ushers, I think, walking up and down our hallways who will be picking up these cards. And I would appreciate each and every one of you looking around you, picking up a card and filling it out and hopefully submitting it to our synagogue. Thank you very much. Lashana Tova, Kamar Chatima Tova.
We'll continue now with our prayer for healing. We'll be singing Heal Us Now by cantor Leon Scher. It uses the words that Moses prayed for his sister Miriam when she was gravely ill in the desert. El na rafana la, God, please heal her. It's one of the most simple prayers, one of the most raw prayers, and many argue one of the most beautiful prayers in our entire Bible. Your rabbis, myself and Rabbi Aaron, are going to walk up and down our pews, and if you're thinking of anyone who could use some healing right now, please feel free to share their names with us.
Rafa'enu Adonai v'nei Rapha. Hoshienu v'nivashea. El karov l'chol korav, ach karov lireav ishon. We pray for healing of the body. We pray for healing of the soul, for strength of flesh and mind and spirit. We pray to once again be whole. Elna Refana. Oh, please heal us now. Refuat ha-nefesh, refuat ha-guf, refuat shelema. Elna Refana. Oh, please heal us now. Refuat ha-nefesh, refuat ha-guf, refuat shelema. Heal us now. Heal us now. Hoshia et amecha, uvarech et nachalatecha, ureim v'naseim ad ha'olam. Misheberach avotenu, misheberach imotenu, Adonai Hoshiana. We pray for healing of our people. We pray for healing of the land and peace for every race and nation, every child, every woman, every man. Elna Refana. Oh, please heal us now. Refuat ha-nefesh, refuat ha-guf, refuat shelema. Elna Refana. Oh, please heal us now. Refuat ha-nefesh, refuat ha-guf, refuat shelema. Heal us now. Heal us now. Heal us now.
We've come to that section of the service where we dig down inside of ourselves, our confessional. We're going to start on page 82. When I was young and learned the alphabet, life was open to me. A was full of aspiration. B was for beauty. C for confidence. And D for dreams. And so on through the list. No fewer than 26 opportunities, 26 possibilities. And yet I fear with the passage of time, I've squandered them, creating instead A's of apathy, B's of brusqueness, C's of coarseness, Help me then to return to that innocence. Let the letters be letters once again. Let them rise to the heavens and form into the words that you know I wish to say. Please rise in body or in spirit for Ashamnu, our alphabet of transgressions. This is that moment where on each one of these words we strike our chest. It's kind of to wake us up, and it is also like our heartbeat. Let's read on page 82 together. Of these wrongs we are guilty. We betray, we steal, we scorn, we act perversely. We are cruel, we scheme, we are violent, we slander, we devise evil, we lie, we ridicule, we disobey, we abuse, we defy, we corrupt, we commit crimes, we are hostile, we are stubborn, we are immoral, we kill, we spoil, we go astray, we lead others astray. At this moment, we acknowledge that we're human, we've missed the mark, we've gone astray from ourselves. Together as a community, we confess what we've done. I speak for you, you speak for me, we all speak for each other. At this moment, we're all responsible for each other. And at the same time, we're all here to support. We continue with Al Chet Shechatanu Lefanecha, the sins that we confess on page 88. Chet shechatanu lefanecha, the ways we have wronged you deliberately and by mistake, and harm we have caused in your world through the words of our mouths. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, the ways we have wronged you by hardening our hearts, and harm we have caused in your world through careless speech. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, the ways we have wronged you through lies and deceit, and harm we have caused in your world through gossip and rumor. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, the ways we have wronged you by judging others unfairly, and harm we have caused in your world through disrespect to parents and teachers. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, the ways we have wronged you through insincere apologies, and harm we have caused in your world by mistreating a friend or neighbor. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, the ways we have wronged you through violence and abuse, and harm we have caused in your world through dishonesty in business.
The ways we have wronged you openly and secretly, and harm we have caused in your world by losing self-control. The ways we have wronged you through sexual immorality, and harm we have caused in your world through consumption of food and drink. The ways we have wronged you by giving in to our hostile impulses, and harm we have caused in your world through greed and exploitation. The ways we have wronged you through cynicism and scorn, and harm we have caused in your world through arrogant behavior.
Page 90.
The ways we have wronged you by hating without cause, and harm we have caused in your world through offensive speech. The ways we have wronged you with a slanderous tongue, and harm we have caused in your world through a selfish or petty spirit.
We turn now to page 115 for Avinu Malkeinu. I'd like to invite Myra Lurie, David Goldman Max, and Zach Goldman, if you'd all please come forward to open the ark for us. Again, 115.
Avinu Malkeinu,
Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Kotfeinu, Besefer Chaim Tovim, Avinu Malkeinu, Hadish Aleinu, Hadish Aleinu, Shana Tova. Avinu Malkeinu, Shema Kolenu, Shema Kolenu, Shema Kolenu.
I'll never forget how I spent Yom Kippur at age 20. I was living in Jerusalem for the year, and having moved only a few weeks prior, I didn't yet have any close friends. My roommates were with their Israeli families for the holidays. Public transportation pauses during the Chagim in Israel, and I didn't live walking distance to any of the synagogues. This was years before the pandemic, so virtual services weren't an option. I spent Yom Kippur alone for the first time. I can't remember exactly what I did. Maybe I took a long contemplative walk. I probably fasted, but I can't be sure. The only part of this that leaves a lasting imprint is the pit that formed in my stomach upon realizing that for the first time, I would be spending the holiest day of the year, 25 long hours, alone. I felt pathetic. I felt nervous. I felt lonely. In truth, much of that year was an exercise in facing loneliness. I had decided to study abroad because I wanted to deepen my Jewish identity. I wanted to prepare myself for rabbinical school. I wanted to explore a country that I had visited before and loved. I never expected to feel such profound isolation. I struggled to make friends at first. I felt like everyone around me knew what they were doing. They were having a great time while I was floundering. I yearned for the embrace of my loved ones, to join them in all the gatherings and milestones that they seemed to be enjoying together back at home while I was halfway across the world. I gained self-knowledge and confidence during my year abroad. I also gained a newfound appreciation for the pain of loneliness. Ironically, I was not alone in my loneliness. None of us ever are. According to a 2021 Harvard University study, 36% of Americans, including 61% of young adults and 51% of mothers with young children, report feeling serious loneliness. 43% of young adults reported increases in loneliness since the start of the pandemic. About half of those surveyed reported that no one in the past few weeks had taken more than just a few minutes to ask how they were feeling in a way that made them feel like someone truly cares. These numbers have consequences. Loneliness is a factor in a whole host of other problems, including depression, anxiety, heart disease, substance abuse, and domestic abuse. Research suggests that lacking meaningful social connection carries the same, if not greater, health risks than heavy smoking, drinking, and obesity. In Genesis, we read, "It is not good for humanity to be alone." Apparently, this is a timeless truth. I want to be clear that feeling lonely and being alone are two different things. Actually, I'm somebody who relishes my alone time, whether this be by having a relaxing night to myself or going on a long walk in my neighborhood or even taking a solo trip to the beach. Being alone gives me the peace and the space to be my truest self and just recharge. And being alone is a very Jewish thing to do. Rabbi Nachman of Breslov popularized the notion of hitbodedut, of spending time alone with God. He wrote, "Set aside time each day to meditate and pray alone in a room, or go to some meadow and express your innermost thoughts, feelings, and personal prayers to God." Our prayer services like tonight have time both for communal prayer, but also the prayers of our own heart, because Jewish tradition seems to know that sometimes you need to be alone with God to really express yourself in a way that you can't in a minyan. But feeling lonely, really feeling lonely, is different. Feeling lonely means feeling isolated and not having an outlet to truly express ourselves, like not being seen, like not being heard, like life is happening around us and we are on the outside looking in. Feeling lonely doesn't bring peace, it doesn't bring a sense of recharge. It brings heartbreak. Loneliness can be emotional, it can be the absence of meaningful relationships, or really missing that one special person who's no longer with us. It can be social, not having enough people to turn to at all. It can be existential loneliness, feeling separate from the world and not finding meaning in life. Loneliness happens across all life stages, and it happens to everyone. Research actually suggests that the capacity to feel lonely is an evolutionary adaptation unique to humans. Perhaps loneliness motivated our ancestors to connect with other members of their tribe, and this increased their chances of survival and of them passing that tendency to feel lonely on to the next generation. Not only is it human to feel lonely, but our tradition teaches that there are times too when God feels lonely. To be lonely is to be B'Tselem Elohim, to be in the image of the divine. According to rabbinic legend, God created the world specifically because God was lonely. And God was looking for a partner in humanity. God craved connection with humanity, and this was the impetus for building the Mishkan, that portable sanctuary in the desert that traveled with the Israelites. We read in Exodus 25, "Va'asu li mikdash v'shochanti betocham." God says to Moses, "And let them make for me a sanctuary, that I may dwell among them." The Mishkan provides a physical space for God and humanity to be present together and to connect for the first time. And this is what makes the Mishkan a holy space. As God directs the Israelites to build the Mishkan, thereby easing loneliness in the world, so too can we. 20th century Jewish philosopher Martin Buber wrote a guidebook of sorts on how to be present and the power of that human presence. In his book, I and Thou, he divides relationships into two categories: I-it and I-thou. An I-it relationship is about being perhaps physically present with another person, but not really there spiritually or emotionally. It's about treating that interaction as a transaction, that other person as a thing. Think about how you might treat a waiter or a cashier. You're perfectly nice to them because you need something to get done, but it's not because you genuinely care. Too many I-it relationships leave us feeling lonely, yes, depressed, and distant from the people in our lives. I-thou relationships, on the other hand, make us feel like our fullest selves. They involve full presence. They involve looking another person in the eye. They involve listening to understand. I-thou relationships are true encounters. Think about the last time you really connected with a person, when you really listened and perhaps you learned something from them that stopped you in your tracks, where you could just be your most authentic self with them. Ultimately, Buber concludes, when two people relate to each other authentically and humanly, God is the electricity that surges between them. Just now in our service, we recited, Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, for the ways we have wronged you deliberately and by mistake, and the harm we have caused in your world through the words of our mouths. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, for the ways we have wronged you by hardening our hearts, and the harm we have caused in your world through careless speech. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, for the ways we have wronged you through insincere apologies, and the harm we have caused in your world by mistreating a friend or a neighbor. All of these point to this simple sin of not being present with another. Not really making that person feel seen, not really making that person feel heard because we're too preoccupied with ourselves. Yes, being present with another person, it takes time and it takes energy in this world we live in when we're constantly being pulled in a million different directions and we never feel like we're giving enough. Ultimately, though, being present is the kindest thing that we can do for another person. It entails giving these most precious resources, our time and our attention, these resources that we can never get back to another human being. It's important. It can make a profound difference in someone else's life, and it can enrich your life too. Martin Buber explains why in a later book of his, Between Man and Man. He writes, "In my early years, religion was for me the experience of exceptional moments. Regular life was about customary tasks, but religion was about illumination, about ecstasy and rapture. It was an extraordinary moment that taught me how wrong this was. One afternoon, I had a visit from an unknown student of mine, but I wasn't there in spirit. I was certainly friendly. I treated him politely. I conversed attentively and openly with him, only I failed to guess the questions which he didn't ask. Not long after, I learned from one of his friends, he himself was no longer alive, the real content of these questions. I learned that he had not come to me by chance, but he was brought to me by destiny, not for a chat, but for a decision. He had come to me in this hour. What are we looking for when we're in despair and we go to another person for help? We're looking for a presence that lets us know that whatever happens to us in life, life is still worthwhile. Since then, Buber writes, since then I have given up the search for religious experience. The only mystery in life is that which is available to us right here. Religion belongs to all moments. It is simply leaving all moments open to the possibility of dialogue. Yom Kippur is about considering how we can act better in the year ahead. With its majestic liturgy and its soaring music, the pressures of this day can feel immense. I'm here to remind you that Yom Kippur and Judaism at large are not about being perfect. Instead, we are told to take small steps to be better. And presence is a part of this. Presence is one of the simplest tools we have to enrich our lives and to solve the problem of human loneliness. What would it look like for all of us to recite Al Chet next year and say to ourselves, hey, I made a real effort to be deliberate in my actions. I tried to use the words of my mouth for good. I sought to open my heart to others, to use speech with care. I spoke sincerely, and I gave others in my life my time and my attention, my presence. How might these others in our lives feel? How might we ourselves feel more connected? One day, a few months into my year in Israel, a classmate and I decided to grab coffee together between classes. I learned that she was from Brooklyn and she had traveled solo in Italy for a month before starting our fall semester in Israel. She was quiet, sweet, and smart. Her stories were interesting to me, and we kept spending more time together, and we grew closer and closer. By the end of our year, we had so many adventures together. And today, she's one of my closest friends. The friendship blossomed out of a decision we both made one day between classes to be present with each other. This made all the difference. To be human is to know the pain of loneliness, yet we also have the power to do something. We as human beings have the unique ability to give our time, to give our attention to the other, to make them feel seen, to make them feel heard, to ease the world's loneliness. In this next year, let us treat each encounter that we have as one ripe with holy potential. Ken Yehi Ratzon, may it be so.
As we move towards the end of our service, we go to page 122 for Kaddish Yatom. And we say Kaddish Yatom as a community, especially for those who have no one to say it for them. We say it for all of those that were lost in the Holocaust. Say it for all the deaths from COVID-19. We say it from all the natural disasters that have occurred in our world recently, and finally, we say it for the violence that takes lives every single day in our world. Let us rise together and say Kaddish. 1, 2, 2. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, be'alma divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, ba'agala v'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shemei rabbah mevarach le'olam u'lalmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shemei d'kodesha b'richu. Le'ela u'le'ela mikol berchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran v'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shalama rabba min shemaya v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, Aleinu ועל כל Yisrael ועל כל יושבי תבל. V'imru. Amen. May the one who grants peace on high grant peace amongst all of us, all Israel, actually the whole world. And let us say, Amen. May be seated for a moment. We have a couple of announcements. Let's go with tomorrow first. Tomorrow I expect all of you at the 8:30 service.
We'll be here.
Probably not. I mean, yes, we will be, but
here.
you probably won't. So be here for that. We also have Spark in the Park. We've got the services for the little children from 1 day old to 4 or 5 years in the park, and also K through 3. We have our service here at 8:30. We have another one at 12, but I just want to briefly mention at 3 o'clock, we have our Contemporary Issues Forum, and we have Dr. Trudy Goodman, who is the founder of Insight LA, who that is an incredible mindfulness and meditation organization. We're going to be talking where the source of kindness in all of us is. There it is. And hint, it's you, and it's going to be a fantastic conversation. Then after that, we are going to have 4 actors that are in our congregation. Actually, 2 of them are here right over there, who are going to be doing a dramatic reading of the book of Jonah. And in the middle of it, we have some contemplative moments that we can think about our own lives as we go through this incredible story. And then at 5:30, we're gonna open up the Ark, turn the lights down. People get an opportunity to come up in front of the Ark. That being said, there's cards that say, "To me, kindness is," or "I will be more kind by." We'd love for you to fill those cards out. Even if you jotted something down and brought it out we have some baskets you can put them in, so that we can, during that half hour, we can put up on the screen the different things that all of us are thinking about as we think about kindness. And then at 6 o'clock is Nila for about an hour, and then we're going to conclude.
I just want to remind everyone that as in pre-pandemic times, Yisker will be during the last half hour of the 8:30 service and the last half hour of the noon service, so it will be included. You'll have a chance to leave if you don't wish to stay.
Right.
Just a couple things. This coming Friday night is Erev Sukkot. We're going to have a wonderful Shabbat service from our sukkah with representatives from City Greens, this wonderful urban farming company. I don't know if you call it a company, but they're going to bring a tower garden. Anyways, the high holidays keep going. We have Sukkot. A week later, we have Simchat Torah. Wait, I know before this, we have Sisters in the Sukkah on Wednesday, October 4th at 7 p.m. If you've never been to Sisters in the Sukkah, please join us. It's tons of fun. We have etrog liquor. That should make you come. Yep, Rabbi Aaron would not like it. Okay. And our book club and our first challah bake November 9th. So you can register for any and all of these events at tbh.org/sisterhood. Then the following Friday, we have Simchat Torah with Mostly Kosher, this amazing klezmer band. I would like to say we were the first people who ever brought them in, the first temple to bring them in for Simchat Torah. And now they play at California Adventure for Hanukkah. So we get the credit, right?
Right.
Right, exactly. And then Animal Shabbat. While we have you here, bring your look, there's Amos. He doesn't look like that anymore. He's 14, but he'll be there with my puppy. Rabbi Aaron doesn't look this. No, he does. He does. No. Join us October 20th. Rabbi Albin will be there with her dog Rexy too. I do have to say we'll have a new picture. So join us October 20th. And finally, thank you. If you weren't here you weren't here in the first service. Our intergenerational choir was here. Our professional octet, you are unbelievable. Thank you, thank you. Yes, our string quartet. Nathan Heldman, our wonderful music director. Bill Schmidt, the wind beneath my wings. Thank you to Dan Tater and the whole crew over there. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you to everyone who greeted. Thank you to our Torah readers. Thank you to our chauffeur sounders last week. And to Sarah Heiner, Executive Director, and our whole staff. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
So we've reached our benediction. Please rise. And we're on page 127 if you'd like to follow the final song. Tonight we began our teshuvah, our return. We returned to this space. And again, at this time, We search the darkness to find the light that's inside of us, in truth and with kindness to discover ourselves for now. That's our endeavor, to break open our hearts and peer inside and return to ourselves, whatever that means and whoever that is. For now, we return again and again inside to discover, to learn, to listen, to return. Let us sing that together. If you're comfortable with the person next to you, you can put their arm around you, but please get permission first.
We return.
We return.
We return.
We return.
We return. Return again. We return.
We return.
We return.
We return.
We return. Return again and again to we return again to love.
Psalm Kal, Gemar Chatima Tova. May you have an easy fast, and may you be sealed in the book of life. Good night. Have a pleasant sleep.